Hey, welcome back to Common Sense OT Security, where we try to use common sense in order to tackle the most complex and important questions of OT security. And today we try to get to the bottom of a very prevalent topic, which is OT threat intelligence. And I would just imagine that all of you are already deeply involved in that field and try to gather additional intelligence, try to learn about threat actors and their tactics and strategies, etc. And for those who aren't involved as deeply as the pros, I will try to untangle what OT threat intelligence is, why you should use it, employ it, and what to make out of all of that. So in order to do that, I will just reference some material that I've researched on the internet. So to be honest, I didn't spend a lot of time because there is so many literature available. And we begin with Exhibit A, which is an article. It looks more like a blog post from Ilan Bardar from ReadyFlow, even though I have a hunch that actually this was not written by Ilan himself, but by some content person in the marketing department. Anyhow, so let's see what their argument is about OT cybersecurity and threat intelligence, why it is a must-have tool in your security arsenal. So we want to learn why that is the case. So the article begins, no matter a company's size, industry, or location, cybersecurity is an issue that looms large, yada, yada, yada. Okay, yeah, and then we are presented with some numbers. The global cyber attacks increased by so and so percent. And by the way, this is like the overall number, including IT. I was hoping for something that would be more specific. Unfortunately, the only thing that pops up here is a research by McKinsey. They talk about OT systems. Guys, I don't know about you, but I would dare to say that McKinsey is probably not the most authoritative source when it comes to OT security. Just my personal opinion. Anyhow, so usually what you see is the OT cybersecurity vendors, they just grab some numbers that actually support their narrative. And the important thing here is to grab something that looks like a dramatic increase, like ballooning by 140%. Still, we haven't heard why threat intelligence is a must-have tool. Anyhow, so let's continue. There are a number of reasons why OT systems have become a more common target recently. No, actually, that is not a fact. So they have not become a more common target recently. No, that's false. There is no factual evidence for that. And this is like a common persuasion tactic, so that they want to make you think past the sale. So they're providing now the reasons for something that hasn't even been proved to be a fact. Anyhow, so we want to see the reasons. Ilan, come on. However, with the prospect of devastating cyber attacks on industrial operations, something we have never seen so far, think shutdown, outages, and other threats to public safety, we have never seen anything like that. OT security can no longer be an afterthought. I agree. OT security can no longer be an afterthought. Now, the role of threat intelligence. Given today's high stakes, companies must devise an OT cybersecurity strategy, right, and make it part of their overall business plan. I agree. To ensure the ongoing safety and health of their operations. Guys, I mean, stop the drama here. With your pointing to safety, I don't think you will be able to close the deal, because that is such a field in its own right that is so well understood and protected that usually it's very remote to everyday OT security operations. I'm just saying, and don't come with the Triconix attack. I have talked about that at length. I know that it exists. I'm just saying. So I'm getting a little bit concerned about OT security vendors being quick to jump to safety. So that is very remote for the risks that we presently face. And just I'm jumping to some results here in order to don't bore you too long. So what is the biggest risk presently that you face in OT and in OT security? It's not a risk to your safety systems. It's ransomware, pure and simple. That's it. So if you want to present an argument why asset owners should invest more in OT security, in my opinion, it's not, all the safety risks, etc. No, it's ransomware. But I will get back to that. I just don't, I want to keep you engaged throughout the webcast. As part of this, many companies are turning to threat intelligence to help minimize risk. Making threat intelligence part of your cybersecurity strategy is important. Now we would like to hear why exactly it is important. But Ilan is presenting something kind of a cliffhanger. So however, before jumping in, it's critical to understand the different types. I don't know why, but anyhow. So then he gets to the different types of threat intelligence: tactical, operational, and strategic. That is, very superficial, abstract nonsense here. And that I don't intend to go into that. Understanding the whole picture, each type of threat intelligence contributes important information to breach simulations. Okay. So, I think this is where he sees the nexus to your cyber risk analysis, and this surprises me in a way. So, in his opinion, the rationale for engaging in OT threat intelligence is to get new ideas about how your systems can be breached. That to me doesn't make sense because you can do that all day long without speculating about the motivations, tactics, and strategies of threat actors. And this is what threat intelligence always involves. So what you could do is more an engineering type of analysis of your existing OT infrastructure, and you can certainly figure out those risks and address those risks. You don't need threat intelligence to do that. So that is surprising to me. So in my opinion, that argument is very, very weak. And I would even go forward and say, well, you as the OT security expert will be able to figure out much bigger risks if you don't just include any type of threat intelligence, but you do your homework, you do a very thorough engineering analysis. We used to do that in the past in our consulting business, and we came up with a methodology, quote unquote, that we called critical penetration analysis. So that was based on a review of the design and on the idea to identify paths to a penetration that could result in critical risk. And if you want to get an idea what that looks like, there is an S4 talk by myself where I do a case study in using that methodology. And I show you how you can identify critical risks in a nuclear power plant or in a nuclear reactor in a specific design, let's just say. Let's just put it this way, because just by design analysis, if you are proficient and savvy in OT security, then you can identify the potential attack paths and infiltration vectors, etc., etc. So, Ilan, I have to say, not convincing. Sorry. Let's go further. Let's go to the threat intelligence masters, Dragos, certainly, in my understanding. So they're the biggest dog in town when it comes to threat intelligence, OT threat intelligence. And they have published a piece last year called "What is OT Cyber Threat Intelligence?" That sounds interesting. The title is appealing for our topic here. Cyber threat intelligence involves collection, processing, analysis, dissemination, and integration of information about active or emerging cyber threats. The primary purpose of CTI is to uncover malicious cyber activities and adversaries and make this knowledge available to decision-making functions in the organization. Operational technology, cyber threat intelligence addresses the unique challenges and requirements of OT environments. To be honest, I had expected a more crisp definition, because what I have just read here, it doesn't directly answer the question, what is OT cyber threat intelligence, but it tells us about what it involves and what its purpose is. But anyhow, I think we are getting some idea here, and then they add additional data about the domain of the cyber threat intelligence, and then the scenarios. What I would have expected here is to just give me some concrete examples. What does such OT threat intelligence look like? But we'll get to that. Anyhow, so here they present cyber threat scenarios, and basically 4 scenarios, which in my opinion, I don't know about you, is a bit tiny, because if there are only 4 scenarios, I would say, that's probably then something I don't need to worry about, because those scenarios are very singular, they are very old. Let's just briefly look at those. 2015 Ukraine electric grid attacks, Black Energy, blah, blah, blah. So in case you are interested in my take on the Ukrainian attack, there is a video on YouTube in our channel, in the OT-based YouTube channel, where you can see my take on the 2015 Ukraine attack. And as you will see, it's another argument for why you don't need threat intelligence. But anyhow, it's just let's just go through there. Then we have the 2017 attack, the Triconex attack. Then we have the pipe dream malware. That is apparently something that Dragos is, they think it's very important. I don't think so. If only for one reason, that toolkit, that multi-tool malware, has never been successfully used. So you could even say, well, how is it different from a proof of concept that some intern or student did? I don't know. So I don't see the practical relevance, and especially not in the context of threat intelligence. Then we have the hacktivist attacks impacting water utilities. What do we have here? Internet exposed PLCs were targeted, easily discoverable in Shodan searches. That is interesting, in my opinion. And that is basically what I want to focus you on. So if there is this particular attack vector that involves internet exposed PLCs, no matter if they are in the water industry or in the electric industry, I think it doesn't matter, that were easily discoverable in Shodan searches. Now, tell me, please, this is a serious question. If for such a scenario, why would I need any type of threat intelligence? I don't get it. So for me, because we're trying to use common sense here, that does not make sense. I can just look at the fact there is a bunch of PLCs, I would imagine thousands of PLCs out there that you can find on Shodan. And with that being a fact, why would I even want to engage in threat intelligence studies? Why? Because there is no logical argument to make that a specific threat actor, such as the Schniptonite, that they would exploit those internet-facing PLCs. It could be anybody, could be the script kid, the proverbial script kid. He or she could also exploit that vulnerability and mess with those internet-facing PLCs. So, in my opinion, very weak argument to the point where it becomes counterproductive. That is not a cyber threat scenario. That is just a blatant configuration vulnerability. Cyber adversaries targeting OT environments, and again, they don't name specific adversaries or actors. They just use abstract categories, blah, blah, blah. The vulnerabilities, that's a different story. Frameworks for threats. No, actually, those are not frameworks for threats. That might be for threat analysis or something, the kill chain and MITRE attack for ICS. But anyhow, so again, we are not getting any meat about those shady threat actors. Data sources, blah, blah, blah. So let's move on, because in this next piece here, they get a little bit more concrete. This is from their year in review report from 2023. And certainly you can make the point, oh, no, they already have the next report out. But guys, trust me, that next report isn't very different from the last one and the one before. So I didn't even bother to go to the latest and greatest, because it's basically always the same story. So details. Dragos identified 3 new OT threat groups. Now we're getting something here. Vaultite, Gunnerite, and Lauronite. So they are now tracking 21 threat groups worldwide, and this is what I think could, in principle, be worthwhile. So who's out there, and what are they after? What are they doing? How do they try to infiltrate, etc.? And you know what I find striking is that, to my best knowledge, I might be wrong here, and you can certainly point that out if you have other information. None of these threat groups, as Dragos calls them, had any success. So none of them had been able to pull off any successful cyber physical attacks. I'm just saying, though you can probably make an argument you should still observe them, but I will get back to that. Ransomware remains the #1 attack in the industrial sector. Oh, so what did I tell you earlier? So, I know we'll get back to that. Okay, so don't get me wrong. This is not about bashing Dragos. I have no intent to do so. I just want to give you my take on that whole OT threat intelligence landscape, and certainly Dragos is an important player in there, so therefore I'm just referencing some of their material. So, but now to become a little more neutral, let's look at what CISA has to say. That is a couple of months ago, from September 25, 2024. Threat actors continue to exploit OT-ICS through unsophisticated means. Isn't that interesting? CISA continues to respond to active exploitation of internet accessible OT, including those in the water system sector, may allow cyber threat actors to use default credentials or other unsophisticated methods to access these devices and cause harm. And that is, in my opinion, one of the most important takeaways. So if you do your due diligence on the OT threat intelligence landscape, what's going on, which threat groups are active, etc. What are their methods? Whom are they targeting? Here is my take. If it turns out, as it is, that any attack attempts, any infiltrations that we see exploit basic security flaws, which means you can use unsophisticated means of exploitation. If that is the case, then my friends, to be honest, you don't have to worry about OT threat intelligence, because it could be anyone. That's the point. So just think about those PLCs exposed on the internet. What is the rationale for trying to identify some Russian hacker group that tries to exploit those internet-facing PLCs when it could be anybody? And it could be the script kid next door. It could be the cyber criminal in Idaho. It could be the hacktivist in Iran. It doesn't matter. So when there are non-specific means for exploitation readily available, because somebody was so silly, so stupid to put their PLCs on the internet, well, then there is no point in engaging in threat intelligence, at least as far as I'm concerned. So you can counter that argument, but I haven't heard any substantial counter argument. Please, just let me know. Let's engage in a discussion. And this is what I find striking about that whole area of threat intelligence. Let's just give you another example, maybe a final example. Published by ISA. This is a piece by another Dragos expert. Let's see, Dr. Tom Winston, director of intelligence content for Dragos. And he tells us cyber threat intelligence in ICS sectors context is everything. And in my opinion, he doesn't make a good explanation why, but that's not the point. He's told cyber kill chain, etc. But what I find striking here in this example is, so he gives us a brief example of the power transmission industry where the impact is high, and what the case study that he refers to was using spear phishing emails. Oh, really? No, that isn't that unique and innovative. No, it's not. And that worm, when the network was successfully intruded, spread using SMB version 1. No, that is not the most sophisticated attack technology. No, that is just our web server uses HTTP. that would be similar. SMB version 1 is such a piece of crap protocol version that if you continue to use it, well, I would say you're to blame. Probably not the attackers. And that is basically my takeaway here. The actual exploits, the actual intrusions, that they don't even lead to cyber physical attacks worth mentioning. So it's not resulting in those safety implications, etc. We haven't seen that. But those actual infiltrations and the malware that's out there, they're trying to exploit all these totally trivial, so these totally basic vulnerabilities, configuration vulnerabilities. And those vulnerabilities that could be exploited by anybody. So again, if that is the case, what do you need threat intelligence for? For nothing. You as the asset owner don't need it for anything. The security vendors needed to create drama. So that is because we see so little actual cyber physical attacks that if you were just focusing on the reporting of actual cyber physical attacks, it would automatically lead to you to the conclusion that's basically a no issue, because we don't see those attacks. But certainly that would not be good for the business of OT security vendors, and therefore what they try to do is make you believe, but still the risk is very high, because there are all these threat actors out there, all these threat groups, and we have the threat intelligence, and we can tell you what they try to do. They're targeting your specific industries, which is nonsense, because that's another issue. And how many targeted attacks did we actually see? Like, what is a targeted attack? A targeted attack is a cyber attack that is specifically attempting to limit the target range. So like they're interested in specific victims. They're not interested in being as broad as possible. That is a targeted attack, and that is not what we see with the poster child exception from Stuxnet. So I would go even so far and hypothesize that the 2015 attack against Ukraine and also the Triconex attack, that these were also not targeted attacks. So they did involve a specific facility, obviously, but in my estimation, those were part of that huge group of opportunistic attacks. It was not that the Russian hackers specifically wanted to turn out the lights in that part of Ukraine. I think they would rather have liked to turn out the lights in Kiev. Or don't you think so? But they didn't have the access. And for some reason, they had the opportunity to infiltrate that specific control center in that other part of Ukraine. And same for the Triconex attack. I would bet that the attackers in question, they would have used any other opportunity. They were not specifically interested in that one facility that was attacked. So that is what the available information suggests to me, because it was just on the table. The opportunity presented itself. So therefore, when you hear the term the threat actors, they target this and that, no, they most likely don't. They don't make deliberate attempts to limit the scope of the attack, as we have seen in Stuxnet. That was a deliberate attempt to limit the scope to one site. And we have never seen anything like that afterwards. So, and then what I also don't like about this Parland, it always suggests that the OT security vendors, that they had so much insight that they could even read the minds of the threat actors. So they know what they want to do. But that is not the case. That's all just speculation. And so if you put all of that together, so here is my bottom line. I don't think that it's necessary to involve OT threat intelligence in your OT security efforts. And certainly I already anticipate the criticism that I'm going to get for this webcast. Well, he's underplaying the risk, etc. No, I'm not. What I try to achieve is to make your OT security efforts more efficient. And my argument is, you don't need threat intelligence. You don't even need the concept of risk. You could simply make the point, guys, like management, what we're doing here is not good. It's reckless, because we have, 500 PLCs exposed to the internet. We are running SMB version 1. We are running hundreds of Windows PCs with Windows 7 installed, with outdated versions of Google Chrome, with Adobe Flash Player running, etc. That is the argument that I would make if I had to. Unfortunately, I'm no longer in the consulting business, but that is the risk that I see. However, as I have just told you, you don't even need to involve the concept of risk. But what you certainly can do is you can approach the whole OT security problem without focusing and being obsessed about threats and threat actors. And this is what is called threat agnostic OT security. The vulnerabilities that we have to deal with are so blatant, my friends, that it's not necessary to refer to some shady hacker sitting somewhere in a building in Moscow. It's not necessary. You don't need to do that. You can simply point out, well, guys, here are all these holes in our cheese. Wouldn't it be better to just fix that situation? Because otherwise we will most likely, or we can probably be the victim of another cyber attack. And that cyber attack, as I see it, what you should be worried about is not the attack against your safety systems. It's plain and simple ransomware. And if you want to protect against ransomware, just look at your Windows boxes, and you will find hundreds, thousands of vulnerabilities. And I'm not just talking about the CVEs, I'm also talking about configuration vulnerabilities, access issues, like remote access, etc. So that is your angle where you can really be much more efficient in your OT security efforts without hypothesizing and speculating about those shady threat actors. So just let me know what you think so that we can hopefully carry the conversation further. My intention is to make you more efficient in your OT security efforts. And one thing to do that is to not waste time and resources on fields that don't yield a lot of value, that don't give you a lot of mileage. Bye-bye.